Okay, so imagine this scenario for a second. You own a car, a really nice car. Maybe, I don't know, a vintage classic or a high-performance sports car.
Right, something you really care about.
Exactly. But here's the catch. The dashboard is completely black. There's no speedometer, no fuel gauge, no temperature needle, and definitely no check engine light.
Oof.
And the only time you can find out what's going on under the hood is once a year. You pull into a shop, a mechanic looks at it for 15 minutes, kicks the tires, checks the oil, gives you a thumbs up, and sends you back out onto the highway.
To drive blind for another year, that sounds absolutely terrifying. I wouldn't make it to the end of the driveway.
It's a recipe for a breakdown.
Yeah.
And yet, if we're being, brutally honest, that is almost exactly how most of us manage the most complex machine we will ever own, our own bodies. We rely on that annual physical, that one single snapshot in time, to tell us if we're healthy. But can a 15-minute appointment once a year really capture the biological reality of your life?
It really can't. And that's the core tension we're unpacking in today's deep dive. We're looking at a fundamental structural shift in healthcare.
How so?
It's a move from episodic care, that once-a-year snapshot where we just cross our fingers and hope for the best, to continuous understanding.
And to help us navigate this, we're doing a deep dive into a really comprehensive report on a platform called Helix Health Guardian. But I want to be clear right off the bat. This isn't just a gadget review. We aren't here to just talk about a new app.
No, absolutely not. The insights we're discussing today are synthesized from consensus findings from, well, the heavy hitters: Harvard Medical School, Johns Hopkins,
Stanford Medicine, the Mayo Clinic.
the NIH, the WHO. I mean, this is basically the gold standard of medical research.
It is the gold standard. So our mission today is to explore this concept of integrated precision medicine. We're going to see how AI is moving healthcare from, well, guesswork, which, spoiler alert, is what a lot of current medicine is, to something specific, personalized, and continuous.
It's about moving from being reactive, waiting for the check engine light to turn into actual smoke pouring out of the hood, to being proactive. And honestly, looking at the data, it's about time. Because the way we've been doing things,
Relying on averages.
relying on population averages, yes, it's actually failing a massive number of people.
Okay, let's double click on that immediately. Population averages. It sounds harmless, right? It sounds like standard science.
It does.
But the sources we're looking at suggest this is actually a massive flaw. Why is being average such a dangerous concept here?
Well, think about how the medical system was built. For a century, we just didn't have the tools to look at everyone individually. We didn't have the computing power. So we created these broad baselines based on the average human.
And usually an average male, historically speaking.
Historically, yes. But research from Harvard Medical School points out a critical limitation here. Inter-individual variability is absolutely enormous.
Inter-individual variability.
Yes.
So the scientific way of saying we're not all built the same.
In a biological sense, yes. And it goes deeper than just some people are tall, some are short. Harvard's data shows that two people can have identical lab values on paper, same cholesterol, same blood sugar, same BMI, but they can respond completely differently to the exact same input.
So if you and I have the same steps and we both eat the same bagel or do the same workout,
Yeah.
we could have wildly different physiological responses.
Yeah.
I mean, you might eat that bagel and your blood glucose stays stable, you feel energized, your body uses the fuel efficiently.
Okay.
I might eat the same bagel, experience a massive glucose spike,
Yeah.
followed by an insulin crash and inflammation. But if you just look at our fasting glucose from a yearly checkup,
You look the same.
you look the same.
That is a huge blind spot. It effectively means that generic health advice like eat whole grains or do cardio is really just a coin toss. It might work for me and completely wreck you. Precisely. If you're just following the average, you are essentially guessing. And this is where the research from Stanford Medicine comes in. They emphasize a concept that I think is the biggest takeaway for you today. Your trend matters more than your number.
I highlighted that in the notes. Your trend matters more than your number. Let's unpack that because we are so conditioned to chase specific numbers, hit 10,000 steps, get blood pressure to 12, 20, 80. We love a static target.
Right, but those are static targets, and biology is dynamic. Let's take resting heart rate. A normal resting heart rate for the general population is a huge range, anything from 60 to 100 beats per minute. So if you go to the doctor and you're at 90, they'll say you're in range, you're fine.
Because I'm inside the average bell curve.
Exactly. But if your personal baseline for the last 5 years has been 60 and suddenly you've drifted up to 90 and stayed there for a month, That is a massive physiological red flag.
That's a 50% increase.
It is. Your body is screaming that something is wrong. Infection, stress, maybe thyroid issues. But the average chart says you're healthy.
That is terrifying. The system is designed to catch you only when you fall off the cliff, not when you're walking toward the edge.
Which is where the AI component of Helix Health Guardian becomes so interesting. The report explains that we humans are just terrible at noticing slow, creeping changes.
We're the frog in the boiling water.
We are. We don't notice if our sleep quality degrades by 1% every night for 3 months. We just wake up one day and say, man, I'm getting old.
But the AI never sleeps, and it doesn't get bored of the data.
Correct. It excels at detecting those slow changes. It anchors all its recommendations to your data, not some generic chart. It's updating insights in real time based on your heart rate, your HRV, your sleep. It learns your personal baseline. So instead of asking, is this normal for a human, it asks,
is this normal for me?
Exactly.
That distinction feels incredibly important. It stops us from comparing ourselves to some imaginary standard and starts optimizing the actual biology we're living in. But to do that, you need data points. Lots of them, not just one a year.
You need continuous data. And that brings us to the second major theme of this report, the end of snapshot medicine.
We touched on this in the intro, but I want to go deeper on the clinical side. Why are institutions like Johns Hopkins and the NIH pushing so hard for continuous monitoring as the new standard? Is it just because we have the tech now, or is there a bigger medical reason?
It's partially the tech, for sure, but it's mostly because we now understand something called dynamic risk. Johns Hopkins has published extensively on this. The idea is that static measurements, like that blood pressure reading you get when you're sitting calmly in a doctor's office, they miss the load your body carries through the day.
The load, you mean like stress?
Stress, recovery, metabolic demand. Think about it. Your heart rate when you're just chilling on a Sunday morning is very different from your heart rate when you're stuck in traffic on a Tuesday.
Or when I'm trying to meet a deadline for this deep dive.
Exactly. Those stress peaks matter. They contribute to what we call allostatic load, the wear and tear on the body. And if you aren't tracking those peaks and valleys, you aren't seeing the accumulation of chronic stress or early metabolic dysfunction. You're missing the movie because you're only looking at the poster.
It makes perfect sense. It's the difference between a photo of the ocean and a video of a hurricane. But here's the problem, and I know every single listener has felt this. We are drowning in tools to track this stuff. I have a Ring for my sleep, I have Watch for my running, I have a completely different app where I try to log my food, and none of them talk to each other. It drives me crazy. It feels like I'm managing a bureaucracy, not my health.
You have just described the data silo problem. And you are definitely not alone in that feeling. Research from the Mayo Clinic highlights that this fragmented data actually reduces clinical usefulness.
Because the body doesn't work in silos.
Right.
My sleep isn't separate from my workout.
It's a highly interconnected system. Your poor sleep last night affects your insulin sensitivity today. Your insulin sensitivity affects your energy levels for your workout. Your workout affects your cortisol levels, which in turn affects your sleep tonight. It's a loop.
A constant loop.
But our current tools treat them as separate vertical lines.
So how does Helix tackle this?
Yeah.
Because pulling all that together, I mean, that sounds like a nightmare of engineering.
Well, the report highlights that Helix Health Guardian is designed specifically to solve this interoperability issue. It unifies vital signs, fitness metrics, even medical records into one data lake. But the real magic isn't just collecting the data, it's the cross-referencing.
So it's connecting the dots for you.
It's calculating real-time interactions. It moves from here is a list of numbers to here is how your system is functioning right now. For example, it won't just tell you you slept 6 hours. It might tell you because you only slept 6 hours, your recovery score is low and your blood sugar stability is likely compromised, so we recommend reducing your carbohydrate intake today.
Wow. Okay, that's a level of actionable advice that I've never seen from a standard tracker. It's actually managing the variables.
It is. But speaking of variables, there's one specific area of tracking that I think most people struggle with the most. It is the Achilles heel of health data. And frankly, it's the one I usually give up on after about 3 days.
Oh, don't say it. Nutrition.
Nutrition.
The dreaded food log.
Yeah.
It's the absolute worst.
It's painful.
Typing in half a cup of brown rice, 4 ounces of chicken, asking the waiter, hey, how much oil is in this? It's tedious, it's socially awkward, And half the time I'm just guessing at the portion sizes anyway.
Well, you are validated by science. Harvard and the NIH note that manual tracking consistently fails. It fails due to user fatigue, which is what you're describing,
Yeah.
and just plain inaccuracy. Most people are terrible at estimating portion sizes. We tend to underestimate what we eat by up to 30 or 40%.
So we know diet is crucial for metabolic health, probably the most crucial factor. But the main tool we have to track it, manual logging, is basically broken. So what's the fix?
The fix, according to this report, is computer vision.
Computer vision. So the camera sees the food.
Yes. We're seeing a huge breakthrough here. Peer-reviewed studies from Stanford and MIT are showing that AI models can now accurately estimate calories and macronutrients from images, especially when they have context.
How does it handle the hidden stuff, though? Like, it can see the pasta, but can it see the butter it was cooked in?
That's always the challenge, of course, but the tech is getting incredibly sophisticated. It uses depth mapping to estimate volume, so it knows that's a cup of rice, not a tablespoon. And it uses contextual databases to estimate density and preparation methods.
So I just take a picture of my lunch.
That's the one-snap analysis feature Helix uses. You snap a photo, and the AI analyzes the composition and volume. But here is where it gets really interesting for your metabolism. It's not just about counting calories for the sake of counting. It's about real-time energy balance.
Explain that distinction. How is that different from just knowing I ate 500 calories?
Well, retrospective counting is looking back at what you ate yesterday. It's a history lesson. It doesn't help you now. Real-time energy balance is knowing, okay, based on my activity today, my basal metabolic rate, and that workout I just did, am I currently in a surplus or a deficit?
And why does that timing matter so much?
Because it's a critical lever for metabolic health.
Yeah.
If you're trying to recover from a hard workout, being in a deep deficit might spike your cortisol and hinder muscle repair. You need to eat. If you're sedentary today, that surplus is just going to storage. Helix updates this dynamically throughout the day.
That is a game changer. It takes the guilt out of it and just turns it into math. It's just fuel management. I have a deficit, I need to fill it, or I have a surplus, I need to move.
Exactly. It removes the emotion. But this brings up a very real danger. We've talked about heart rate, sleep, activity, food photos. That's a massive amount of data.
Yeah, I'm already feeling a little overwhelmed just talking about it. Isn't there a risk that having all this info just makes us anxious?
No.
I mean, hypochondria is a real thing.
It is a huge risk. The WHO and the NIH have both issued warnings that data overload without guidance just increases anxiety and actually reduces adherence. People get paralyzed by the numbers.
Right, if I give you 50 different graphs every morning, you're just going to tune out.
You're going to tune out. So how do we stop Helix or any of these precision tools from becoming just another source of stress?
How do you do it?
By using AI as the interpreter, not just the collector. The report really emphasizes that the value here is in pattern recognition. The AI synthesizes all these diverse data streams to give you one simple signal. It needs to separate the signal from the noise.
Can you give us an example of what that looks like in practice? The report mentioned some specific formulas that I found really helpful.
Right, so let's look at a negative trend. Let's say your heart rate variability, your HRV, is trending down. Your sleep duration is also trending down, and your calorie deficit is high. Separately, these are just numbers. But together, the AI recognizes a pattern. HRV down plus sleep down plus calorie deficit recovery risk.
So instead of showing me 3 different graphs, it just tells me, hey, you're about to crash.
Basically, it translates that complex physiology into, you are under-recovered, your sympathetic nervous system is redlining, eat more or rest today. It gives you permission to slow down based on data.
That's huge. Because usually if I'm tired, I try to push through it. I drink more coffee and go to the gym anyway because I think I'm being disciplined.
And that's often how we get injured or sick. Now, conversely, look at a positive trend. Sleep is up. HRV is up. Your calorie surplus is controlled. That's an adaptation window. Meaning your body is primed to take on stress and get stronger. That's the day to go for a personal record at the gym.
See, that I can use. I don't need to know the raw HRV number. I need to know go hard or go home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It moves from here is your data to here is what you should do. It acts as that crucial buffer between you and the raw complexity of your own biology.
Okay, I want to zoom out a bit. We've talked about the daily data, the stuff the wearables catch. But what about the heavy stuff? The blood work, the MRI reports, the genetic tests, the notes from my actual doctor? That's usually stuck in a filing cabinet somewhere, or on a portal I forgot the password to.
And that is a major gap in the current system. Harvard and the Mayo Clinic emphasize that health data without medical context is incomplete. Your wearable might know you slept poorly, but it doesn't know you have a thyroid condition unless you tell it.
It doesn't know my family history.
It doesn't know you have a family history of heart disease, no. So how does Helix bridge that gap? Because that feels like the last mile of this whole problem.
It does.
It allows for the creation of a lifelong personal health database. Users can upload and store their reports, imaging, labs. The AI can then ingest this information, even if it's just a PDF of a lab report, to improve its risk stratification.
So it's literally reading my lab results and using that to adjust my daily recommendations.
Ideally, yes. If your historical labs show you're pre-diabetic, the AI's sensitivity to your sugar intake or your post-meal walks might adjust. It creates a longitudinal record. It's not just about today, it's about your entire health history.
That feels like true ownership. Instead of my data being scattered across 5 different doctors' offices, I have the master file.
And that master file concept leads to one of the most important points in the report regarding global health, and that's accessibility.
Right. The report mentioned the WHO identifying language barriers as a huge issue in healthcare quality.
It's massive. If you're an expat or a traveler, or you just live in a region where the dominant medical language isn't your own, you're often flying blind. You get a report in a language you don't understand, and you have no idea if it's serious. Helix uses multilingual AI translation and summarization.
So I could be in Japan, have a medical issue, get a report in Japanese, and use this to actually understand what's going on.
Or just understand your own health insights in your native language, regardless of where the data came from. It allows you to carry your health understanding in your pocket anywhere in the world. It really democratizes the insight. It empowers the patient.
That is incredibly powerful. It feels like we are looking at a huge structural shift here. We started this deep dive talking about the annual checkup, model reactive, episodic, generic.
And we're moving toward a model that is preventative, continuous, and highly, highly personalized.
So let's unpack the so what here for the listener.
Yeah.
Because we've thrown a lot of tech and research at them. If I'm just a regular person, not a biohacker, not a tech geek, why should I care about this shift?
I'd argue the biohackers need this the least because they're already obsessed. This is for the average person who wants to avoid chronic disease. The consensus from these top institutions is really clear. Health outcomes improve when data is continuous, integrated, and intelligently interpreted.
It's about catching things early. It's about not waiting for the breakdown on the side of the road.
It is. It's about self-regulation. When you see in real time how that glass of wine affected your sleep quality or how that 20-minute walk lowered your stress levels, you change your behavior. Not because a doctor scolded you once a year, but because you saw the cause and effect yourself.
It closes the feedback loop.
Exactly. Helix Health Guardian isn't trying to replace doctors. It's trying to bridge the gap between your daily life, where health actually happens, and that clinical insight. It's taking the guesswork out of being human.
It really just highlights how archaic our current model is. We accept so much uncertainty about our own bodies. We optimize our finances down to the penny. We optimize our schedules, but we leave our biology to chance until something breaks.
We really do. And when you think about it, your health is the only asset that truly matters. Without it, the car, the job, the finances, none of it matter.
That brings me right back to that car analogy we started with.
It's the perfect image to leave on.
If your car has a dashboard that lights up the moment tire pressure is a little low or the engine temp spikes, if we demand that level of real-time awareness for a vehicle that, let's be honest, we can just replace.
Why are we still accepting a healthcare model that only looks under the hood once a year for the one body we can never replace?
That's the question we want to leave you with today. As we move into this era of AI and integrated precision medicine, ask yourself, do you know your personal baseline? Or are you just hoping you're average?
It's a question worth asking. Because remember, your trend matters more than your number.
Huge thanks to the authors of the Helix Health Guardian report for this incredible overview of where medicine is heading. And thank you for listening to this deep dive.
Stay curious and stay healthy.
We'll catch you on the next one.